is here. It has been finally revealed. It was not without a few bumps and twists in the tail, like Richmond winning the Atlantic 10 to bump out an at-large team, which turned out to be its fellow conference team, Dayton. How unbelievable was that? Nobody had Dayton as one of the last teams out, or one of the first teams out, but according to the committee, they were the team that was bumped out by Richmond winning. I wonder, too, if Malachi Smith had something to do with that. It's a fascinating bracket. There are a few things that bother me. I have to admit, I wasn't sure that any of the teams that were the last four teams in, Rutgers, Notre Dame, Wyoming, or Indiana, deserved to make it. I could certainly make a case for Dayton, who didn't make it. They did lose to Richmond in the semifinal, and they did have one of their best players get hurt, and I wonder if that affected it as well. But they also won the ESPN Events Invitational in Orlando, and along the way, they beat not only Miami, who finished high up in the ACC, but didn't make the tournament, missed out. They missed out on the tournament. They beat Kansas, who is a number one seed, one of the four best teams in the country, and one of the four top seeds according to the committee. They beat them on a neutral floor. So tough luck for Dayton on that. The other big head scratcher in terms of the bubble teams is Michigan getting in as an 11. They're not even in the play-in game. And worse yet, I think they're probably going to win that first game against Colorado State, who for me is a tad overseeded at 6. And they talked about Michigan's strength of schedule, which was their non-conference strength of schedule, which is good. And they played a very good non-conference strength of schedule. Do not get me wrong. They played North Carolina. Yeah, they played San Diego State, beat them. San Diego State, got in the tournament. I will look at it real quick now because I don't have it all. I had it up earlier. Michigan played 4 teams in their non-conference that made the field. They made the field this year. They played Seton Hall, who made it. They lost narrowly to them. They played Arizona. They got smoked. That was in Vegas. They got smoked against Arizona. They played North Carolina on the road. They got smoked there, but again, they made the field. And they played San Diego State, and they beat them. However, a team that was somewhere around the cut line and then fell off and didn't get in, VCU, my team, played 5 teams that made the field. So I'm looking at the non-conference schedule for Michigan, and it's not that much better than VCU's, as a for instance, even though they didn't lose any bye games at home like VCU did. And then you go to the fact that they were 11 and 9 in the Big Ten, which is good, except part of the reason they were 11 and 9 is they fattened up on the dregs of the conference. Maryland, Penn State, Northwestern, and Nebraska, all of whom were absolutely awful this year. So and they did beat Ohio State on the road late in the year, and that was a big win. But I got a real problem with Michigan being in at 17 and 14 and not Dayton or Texas A&M. There's another one. Now, Texas A&M, you can argue, lost 8 in a row in the middle of the season. So they really can't have much of a beef about not making it, because it's hard to be one of the 36 best at-large teams in the country when you have an 8-game losing streak. Damn! And that's a fair argument. But they got all the way to the final in the SEC. It's one of the best conferences this year, as for instance. And they also played some really good teams. Let me see here. I'm looking at Texas A&M now. Looking at their schedule now. They played Wisconsin and lost to them, and they only lost by 11. They won at Notre Dame, who got in the tournament. That's the other thing. Notre Dame is one of those last 4 teams in. And Texas A&M beat them on a neutral floor in Vegas, and they don't get in, and Notre Dame does. They played TCU and lost narrowly to them. That was in Houston. That was on a neutral floor. So and yes, they had some tough. They had that long losing streak in the middle of the year, in the middle of the conference season, but. They did finish the season by winning at Alabama, who's in the tournament, beating Florida, who was on the bubble, and then they beat Florida to start the NCAA tournament, the SEC tournament, knocked them out, and then you beat Auburn and Arkansas on neutral floors, Auburn is a 2 seed. Arkansas is a 4. And they did get thumped pretty soundly by Tennessee today, but that's Tennessee. Tennessee's really good. And that was the other big head scratcher. Tennessee was a 3 seed. Some people thought they had a shot at a 1, but they're behind Villanova, Duke, Kentucky, and Auburn. Well, Tennessee beat Auburn this season, I think twice. And against Kentucky, they beat them in the tournament, and they beat them in the regular season. Kentucky did play them 3 times, and the first time Kentucky absolutely wiped the floor with them. But they beat Kentucky head-to-head and won the SEC tournament. Auburn went splat in round 1 of that tournament to A&M, and I think Tennessee beat them too this year. Yeah, Tennessee beat Auburn right at the end of February, 67-62, and I don't think they played at Auburn again. I mean, to me, Tennessee's better than all 4 teams that are seeded second. So that was kind of a nutty thing. I didn't understand that. And what a bad break for Longwood. First NCAA tournament, seeded 14th, which is probably better than what I thought. And they get the strongest 3 seed by a country stinking mile. Good luck, Longwood. You're going to need it.
Look!
Devastated.
The only good thing is that I think Tennessee's draw is such that I can easily see them in the Final 8 or even the Final 4. So the other thing, other than that, there was nothing too bad. Memphis might have been a tad high at 9. That didn't bother me too much. Let's see here. There was nobody else. There was nothing outrageous like I've seen teams that were 2 and 3 sidelines above where they should be. Didn't see anything like that. Oh, I forgot Miami of Florida did make the NCAA tournament, by the way, when I was talking about them. So that was another point in Texas A&M's favor. LSU was probably a little high at 6. They fired their coach because he got a notice of allegations. And the interesting thing too is one of the things I always look out for, because VCU had this experience and it was rotten, was the teams that play 4 games in 4 days the second week of the tournament, which means they play 4 games in 4 days and they're playing that Sunday that the bracket is done. And then do they have to turn around and play Thursday, which is tough because you only get 2 days off after playing 4 games in 4 days. That could be a significant advantage. Well, there are 2 teams that did that this year, Iowa and Richmond. And to the committee's credit, they're playing each other, so there's no great advantage in that for them. So that's interesting. And by the way, Iowa is absolutely on fire, and I think Iowa could make a deep run. Couple things to note. 5-12s and 4-13s. Pretty regular, you get at least 1 upset in each seed line. You get at least 1 12 beating a 5 and 1 13 beating a 4. And they all look pretty live to me this year. Alabama Birmingham is a 12 and playing Houston, who won the American Athletic today. Alabama Birmingham and Houston used to be in the same league, so there'll be some familiarity there, even though that was several years back, and there'll be a little bit of rivalry there in that one, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's one of those. Chattanooga's definitely live against Illinois, absolutely live. VCU lost to them at home this year. Really good team, Chattanooga, swept its conference and playing really well. That's in the right quadrant. I guess that's the South region there. The Midwest region, your 5-12 is Iowa, Richmond, as I said, and I really like Iowa. 4-13 is Providence, South Dakota State. Providence could be going out. South Dakota State is really good as a 13. Then you come over. I think this is the. Actually, I don't know if that's Midwest region because Baylor's a 1-2, and they don't have the regions listed on here, which is annoying. I'm looking at the NCAA site, but in the Baylor region, UCLA plays Akron. That if I feel comfortable for any 4 or 5 seed, that's probably the one I feel the most comfortable about winning is UCLA. Final 4 participant from last year, and they've backed that up with a really good season in a very underrated conference, the Pac-12. Akron had a hell of a MAC tournament. They knocked out their regular season champ, Toledo, and then they were really good against Kent State yesterday. to win that Saturday to win that. St. Mary's is a 5, and they get a play in. They get Wyoming or Indiana. Two teams are very fortunate to be in. I definitely like St. Mary's there. Indiana could cause them a problem because of their size, but the way St. Mary's plays, and that's the thing, if we get St. Mary's UCLA in round 2, one opportunity for St. Mary's, because you know that teams like St. Mary's don't get a shot at the California Blue Bloods very often, so that would be a real fun one there. And then you're 4 and 5 in the West is Arkansas is playing Vermont. Vermont is very live. They've been in the tournament a lot. They're a really good team. Arkansas can be a little inconsistent at times. And then UConn plays New Mexico State. New Mexico State, like Vermont, has dominated their conference for a long time, been in the tournament a lot, usually plays real well in the tournament. That'll be very interesting. And, of course, if UConn could play Vermont in round 2 in Buffalo, again, that's an opportunity for Vermont, because not often that they would get it, that UConn would ever play Vermont in the Northeast. UConn's kind of a blue blood program, and Vermont's been a really good program for a long time, but it's hard for them to get games with the big programs in the Northeast because they're too scared to play them usually. And I really kind of hope that's what we get. I would love to see a UConn-Vermont round 2 matchup. Your 4 number ones are Arizona, Gonzaga, Baylor, and Kansas. No argument there, really. I mean, quite honestly, Tennessee probably as a 3 probably had a better argument for a 1 as any of the 2s did. Bit surprised Duke got a 2, considering they lost. They did get to the ACC final, but they lost. And ACC was really down this year. You know, Notre Dame, even though they got close to winning the regular season, the ACC was pretty darn fortunate to get in as it was that they got in. I do have an issue with Duke there. Also, want to point you in the direction of a couple of live 14 seeds, because we got a few of them this year. Longwood would have been 1 against anybody but Tennessee, I'm afraid. And the other one, but I still think that they could put in a decent performance, even though I really rate Tennessee. And then the other one's Colgate. Colgate played Tennessee in the tournament last year and scared the bejesus out of them, and they play really, really fast. Colgate is one of the faster teams in terms of tempo. They scored like 106 up at Syracuse and beating them up there for the first time in forever. Watch out for Colgate, because if they can get Wisconsin out of their tempo, then Wisconsin could be in a lot of trouble. Wisconsin usually is one of the slower playing teams in the country. According to Ken Pomeroy's stats. So, that's going to be purely about which team gets the pace in the direction that they want it to, because the team that does that is going to have a great chance to win. And Colgate, they can fill it up. And again, they're experienced. They've been in the tournament a bunch recently. And when they've got in the tournament, they've been tough. They've been real tough. So I'm looking forward to that one. If there's a 3-14 upset out there that can happen, and those are getting a little more regular than what you'd expect, then that's one of the ones I'm really looking at there that could be very interesting. Let's see here. There is usually it's getting more regular that 15 seeds scare the heck out of the 2 seeds.
And everyone can beat the odds and do great things in life, and I want everyone to know that. That's the message I'm here to say.
And out of the 15s, Jacksonville State, even though they backdoored their way in because an ineligible team won their conference tournament, so as the regular season champ, they got the automatic bid.
I always wear a Trojan when I go backdoor.
Jacksonville State knows how to play. Ray Harper is a really good postseason tournament coach. He's been in the tournament with Western Kentucky. He's won that Ohio Valley with Jacksonville State and the ASUN with Jacksonville State. He's a tremendous coach, and he knows how to move the chess pieces around. And Auburn, I wonder about Auburn coming off a loss. Again, one of the other things when you're filling out a bracket, tips that you need to remember: teams that lose their first conference tournament game don't win the national championship, and a lot of times they get bounced early too. Auburn is a candidate for that. So if you're looking at a 2-15 game where something historic could happen, that might be the one. They might be the 15 with the seed with the best chance to pull an upset or at least get real close. In terms of the 14 seed line, I'd say it's Colgate. The 12 seeds that could win, I really think. I'll be thinking about UAB real hard, and in the play-in winner too against St. Mary's. Even though I like St. Mary's a lot, they're definitely a candidate as well. In terms of 13s, Chattanooga's the one for me. In terms of the one I think will win, Chattanooga or South Dakota State. I really think both of them are a big, big opportunity there. And again, if you're looking for Cinderellas, you're looking for double-digit seeds that can get to the Sweet 16. Davidson, and yeah, there's a little Atlantic 10 bias for me here, but Davidson could be knocking over two blue blood programs, Michigan State and Duke, to do it. And again, Davidson gets to play Duke in Greenville. Davidson will have a lot of fans there, and all the neutrals and the locals will pull for Davidson if that's what comes to it. Davidson is definitely a chance to get there as Sweet 16. Virginia Tech only got an 11 despite winning the ACC tournament, which kind of tells you that maybe they wouldn't have made it if they hadn't won the final Saturday night against Duke. Virginia Tech, I think, has got a good setup with Texas, who's an offensive team that kind of struggles at times, and again, got knocked out by TCU in the first round of their conference tournament. Those teams do tend to lose early in the first weekend, as I said. So Virginia Tech is a potential double-digit seed Cinderella, even though they're a major conference team. And I tell you, in terms of double-digit Cinderellas, if you're looking for one, if you're looking for another one, boy, it's tough sledding. UAB is a possibility because again, if you get UAB or Chattanooga, if you get a bracket collapse there, you could have a 12 versus 13. So UAB or Chattanooga might be a chance too, and because they're from one bid leagues, they're more of a true Cinderella maybe than those other two that I mentioned. So that's it. That's the bracket. Fairly decent job from the committee. Other than Michigan getting in, nothing really, really, really outrageous. No seeding disasters except maybe for Tennessee. A lot of people were upset about that. But, Tennessee's only one seed line down further than maybe what I would have had. And I'll be honest, the draw they got, I kind of feel really confident about Tennessee anyway. So I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference unless Longwood really scares the pants off of them in round one. And I certainly, if they get through Longwood, I have no worries about them in round two against Colorado State or Michigan. So that's it for this episode of Rodent Sports. We will be back with bracket picks either Tuesday or Wednesday, so that you can maybe go the other way. Because again, my bracket record's not that great. I've had a few good years, but not many. But we'll be back with bracket picks on Wednesday, so on Tuesday or Wednesday, so you can figure out what you're going to do there. Thanks everybody for watching as always, and until next time.
That's it. We're done, right?